Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing day that almost got started on mute, but it didn't. Thank you for the warning. It's happening. It's Thursday. We know what that means. Tomorrow is Friday, and we have a great stream planned for you as our weeks are coming to a close here. It's been a busy day. We have a story today about a new indictment that came down from the District of Alaska. This involves threats against a federal judge and Trump. This guy was totally unhinged, sending a bunch of very nasty messages into the feds, and he has been picked up. And so he's being called the Alaskan assassin, which is pretty good. Now, I don't know how capable he is of executing any of this. He sounds kind of like a typical Democrat maniac, but we'll go through it. We'll read what he said, man. He's talking about Clarence Thomas. We don't know officially who he's talking about, but we can see what he says based on his language and some of the words he uses, who he's talking about. And so we'll go through the indictment. Let me give you a little preview of what we're going to get into today. You can see this is the indictment that has come down from the District of Alaska, and the guy's name is Panos Anastasiou, and he's got some very angry things that he has said in his past, including some of things like this. Whew! You can see all these asterisks that are in these text messages. And so normally they say that, people need to be gagged when anybody says anything bad about a federal judge or something like that. They say Trump needs to be gagged. And so this guy is saying some very nasty things against Supreme Court judges and against Trump. And so I'm wondering if the Democrats are going to gag themselves. Is that going to be happening anytime soon? Are they going to gag themselves so that these psychopaths stop talking like this and threatening our judges and undermining American democracy? Maybe they'll do something about it, but we're not going to hold our breath. So we'll take a look at this case. It just got filed, and there's a bunch of activity on it. So another Trump assassin intercepted. This guy's from Alaska, the Alaska assassin, which is a cool name. I mean, let's be real here. It's pretty cool. Not that we endorse assassinating anyone. Now, we also have some updates in Arizona. This is pretty wild, the situation that's happening here. And this one was an interesting one because we start saying things like there's 100,000 people that don't have proof of citizenship. And so there's this clamoring to get them off the ballot. Then we turn around and find out, well, what this is kind of a clerical problem. And so these are longtime people who've been on this ballot for a long time. And suddenly they're trying to throw them off the roll so they can't vote in local elections. There's a lot of complexity to this, so we're going to break it down. But this is Stephen Richer, and there's some weird colluding going on where I believe what they're trying to do is disenfranchise a bunch of Republican voters. And they're trying to throw them off the state level issues right before the election. And so the Arizona GOP, the Republican Party, is a little freaked out about this. They have submitted an amicus brief here to participate in this because what's happening is Stephen Richer, in my opinion, is not a fan of the Republican Party or Donald Trump or any of those things. Claims to be a Republican, constantly works against Republican interests. He said something like he's a pro-democracy Republican or whatever, and that's his shtick, but he lost his election, so he's not going to be in this position much longer. So as he's on his way out, he is now filing a complaint against Adrian Fontes, and these two are basically on the same team, okay? So it's not like this is a lawsuit against two real adversarial parties. They play patty cake, and they do this stuff. And what it's looking like is they're trying to disenfranchise 100,000 Republicans when you actually break this down. It's not like these are votes that they've identified that are illegal aliens or non-citizens. They've gone through and they found basically 100,000 people that are Republicans. And now Stephen Richer, as his final bon voyage message to the Republicans in Arizona, decides that he's just going to disenfranchise 100,000 of them. And it's very curious because it's the same people who are saying that we can't have any election integrity and all sorts of other issues that, they don't want to disenfranchise anybody unless it's a Republican contingent right before the election. So we'll go through this. We'll see what the Republican Party says. This is the brief of the Republican Party as friends of the court. And this is a hot issue right now. A lot of back and forth on this. Katie Hobbs even talked about it, our governor, and more. And so I've also got a little bit of a video from the Republican Party of Arizona. This is a big deal. Remember, in Arizona, Trump lost Arizona by like 11,000 votes. It was very close. And if they've got 100,000 people in here who are not going to be participating in this or disenfranchised, even 10% of that, that could be a big issue. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to vote in the presidential election per se, but we'll get into it. She'll explain what's going on. And then we'll turn our attention to what the latest is over on this bizarre eye-burning situation that took place at a Trump rally here in Tucson, Arizona. We're in Phoenix, but it's about 2 hours south of us. And the Independent came out. They just updated this about 8 hours ago. And we now have some people who've spoken out to the press who were there and say that they were injured. People saying, I can't see anything when I try to open my eyes. I see a bright light. It hurts to open my eyes, say these many people who were there. And so we'll give an update on this. The Secret Service doesn't know anything about it, they say. And they appeared on with local news in Tucson. So if you haven't seen this or heard from them, they actually show up here. We'll see. We'll have a little bit of an interview with some of them who are speaking about this, including this woman who's speaking to keep her identity secret. So we'll go through that. We'll get the latest. Also, 12 News in Arizona had some updates on this. What's cooking? We'll take a look. Hopefully it's not anybody's eyeballs. Okay, not appropriate. Not appropriate at all. All right, so we've got a bunch of good stuff to get to. Cannot wait to get into this indictment because it is certainly a spicy one. But before we get into any of that good stuff, my friends, we have to make sure that we are properly prepared. And one way we can do that is with our friends at the Wellness Company, because as we know, the world is getting more unpredictable by the day. We've got civil war rumors, unstable stock markets, and looming threats of global health emergencies all around us. And there's a bird flu summit that's coming up in October. Don't know if you saw it. Kind of reminds us of COVID. And get this, their first item on the plan is mass fatality management planning. It's literally there. If that doesn't freak you out, I don't know what will. But there's good news. You don't have to be scared if you're prepared. We can be prepared with the Wellness Company and their medical emergency kit. Every home in America should have at least one of these. They're packed with life-saving things like ivermectin, amoxicillin, even Z-Pak, and it's all backed by experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. You know who he is. And so imagine this. No more frantic searches for a doctor, no more emergency waiting rooms, just a few clicks. Kit is delivered right to your door. In times like these, having your medical emergency kit is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. And so you can protect your family now. Very easy to do it. Use the link in the description, twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert. You'll save $30 when you check out. So don't wait. Tell it's too late. Act now. Take control. Ensure you're protected against whatever comes next. That's twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert. You'll save $30 and you'll get free shipping from our friends at the Wellness Company. And so thanks for supporting them and the show and getting prepared, baby. We all need to be prepared. So let's get into it because we've got a new indictment fresh out of the oven. Let's take a look and see what is inside. Another threat against Trump and the Supreme Court of the United States. This one coming from a deranged TDS individual who was sending, allegedly, a bunch of very troublesome text messages to the Supreme Court and threatening Trump himself. The guy's name is the defendant Panos Anastasiou, and he's been charged with multiple criminal counts. You see a bunch of them, 1, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22, all threats against the federal judge. In this case, it's going to be the Supreme Court judges, and you can guess which side of the aisle they'll be on. We also have counts 2, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, threats made in interstate commerce. And we'll see who else shows up on the list. El Trumpo. But you'll notice this got filed out of the District of Alaska, federal case brought in this district. Let's see what the indictment tells us. Now, I want to point something out for us as well. Remember, oftentimes we'll cover indictments like against Donald Trump, for example. One that stands out to us is the January 6th indictment that came from Jack Smith. And if you read that indictment, it's filled with all sorts of stories and narratives and witnesses. And it says this person did this and all this and this and this and this. It's called a speaking indictment, right? It's where they're filling it with a bunch of garbage that shouldn't be in there. Now, compare and contrast that with this indictment. There's almost no information in this indictment because this is how it should be. It shouldn't be a book report for Jack Smith, who's not even a real boy, an illegitimate prosecutor. It's not an opportunity for him to rant about his oppressed thoughts in an indictment. It's supposed to be a charging document. That's why he's having so many problems with it, because it's riddled with immune conduct. But that's a separate digression. This is what an indictment is supposed to look like. You'll see here, it says at all times in this indictment, general allegations. Then we're going to zoom into the really juicy stuff, because in the detention order, the government is trying to seek this guy to contain this guy in custody. They say he's a serious risk. And you'll notice we've got some not so PG-13 language in here. Okay, so we're going to bleep it out, but it's going to be on the screen. So just be prepared for that. Now, we are going to read the juicy stuff, but here's the indictment. So it tells us, all right, here's who we're talking about. Supreme Court Justices 1 through 6 were justices of the Supreme Court of the United States. 1 through 6. So how's the Supreme Court split again? 6 conservative-ish judges. Oh. So maybe this guy's targeting the right. Oh. The Supreme Court of the United States maintained a publicly accessible website which allowed members of the public to submit messages through the internet. And we warn about this all the time, right? Especially when Joe Biden's like, send me a text message, America. We're like, don't send him anything, because they're going to be monitoring it and scrutinizing it for criminal conduct. So the Supreme Court has a form. They're like, send us a message. Family members 1 and 2 are family members of the Supreme Court, judges 1 and 2. Now, between these dates, March 10th, 2023 to July 16th, 2024, so a long time, well over a year, this defendant, Panos, sent and caused to be transmitted through the internet over 465 messages to the Supreme Court via an online portal. That's a lot of messages. I mean, that's like, I don't know, like 1/4 of what Fani Willis and Nathan Wade were talking about. Remember, I think it was like 1,000 a day or whatever the numbers were. Insane numbers. We'd go, oh my gosh, what else were they doing? They were like texting each other while they're indicting each other. You know, like, because like in order to keep that number up, like you really got to be going at it. Like it was ridiculous how many messages they were sending to each other. Like they did nothing else. But this is a pretty big number. 465 messages through the internet. It's a lot. Couple a day. It's over 365 days, so it's like 1 a day, I guess, if you wanted to do the numbers. Via an online portal. And that Fani Willis hearing today with Ashley Merchant was pretty rough, man. Not because of Ashley Merchant, she's amazing, but listening to that examination of that custodian of records was rough. So shout out to whoever bared through that one. But Anastasiou, back to this case, he intended for the Supreme Court justices to learn of these messages and their content. He's like, give this one to Clarence Thomas while you're at it. So beginning on January 4th this year, this guy, the defendant, began sending messages that were intended to threaten and harm and convey very nasty messages to all these judges and their family members. The messages contained violent, racist, and homophobic rhetoric, coupled with threats of assassination via torture, hanging, firearms, and encouraged others to participate in the acts of violence. Just like a standard DNC constituent, I guess. It's kind of how they act. I'm not joking about it. You see these women on the streets? Crazy. Now, some of these threats were intended to intimidate Justices 1 through 6 and to retaliate against them for doing things as judges. They did these things as judges, and this dude was unhappy about it. So here's what happened. On January 4th, this guy of this year transmitted a threat to assault, kidnap, or murder Supreme Court Justice 1. Nasty. And also another justice, and he wanted to do this to impede that Supreme Court judge's duties. Similarly, paragraphs 1 through 5, he did the same thing. January 4th, he was saying, whoa, he sent this message. He said that he was going to murder Supreme Court Justice 1 by providing the rope to hang blank from an oak tree. Wonder what party he's a part of. Now, paragraph 1 through 5 of this indictment are incorporated here. They say that he knowingly and willfully did transmit in interstate commerce another communication where he was going to say he was going to eliminate this one by lynching. think we're honing in on what justice he's talking about. But now he's talking about he's going to put a, man, they don't take kindly to that terminology, law enforcement. This guy calls in, he submits this on his form. I'm going to put something in his head. Whew. Count 5, same thing. He says he's going to send his fellow veterans to spray their homes with bullets and that it's going to hopefully eliminate them. Rough. Count 6. Similarly, going to put metal objects where they're not supposed to go. And he's also specifically going to eliminate them with a firearm. You can see these are bad messages. Now, all this was happening. Same thing happened on June 18th. So we've got different messages and different dates of offenses. You can see different dates here. May 18th was another one, May 17th. So back-to-back days, May 16th, May 10th, and on, January 4th. Now, what's curious about this, right? And I've actually worked on cases like this, and not at this federal level, but at a local level. And what we see is that oftentimes these defendants are not in the right state of mind. We've talked about many cases like this here. In fact, other cases like this, people are just unwell. They're not doing well. Don't think that they're capable of carrying it out. Not supposed to do it. Still very illegal. I'm not condoning the behavior. I'm not condoning these messages in any way. But oftentimes we're talking about insane people. And that's the defense largely is this is nuts. Okay, this guy's clearly not going to do any of this. He's an old man. He's drunk at home. He's off his rocker. He's alone. He's lonely. He's mad. He's watching Rachel Maddow all day long, Your Honor. Show some mercy. That's the defense. But there's also situations where maybe this guy is not crazy, right? Maybe he's actually a lunatic, just like that other guy who tried to shoot Trump on the golf course, or the other guy who did shoot Trump on the roof. And they keep saying that those shooters were Trump fans. You know, it's wild. These Democrats are so twisted in their brains. Apparently they're like, no, we love to shoot our favorite people. We shoot everyone. Maybe they do in Chicago or whatever. But the point is, you see there are many offenses, same type of pattern. He was saying he's going to torture and execute the Supreme Court justices. And they're getting listed here because it's in the performance of their official duties, right? Trump is a private citizen, so it's less... and it's Trump, so they don't care about it. Also talking, specifically threatening to assassinate them. The Alaskan assassin strikes again. So count 12, same thing. July 1st, he also transmitted, same thing, another threat of assassination in 14. Justices 1 and 2, counts 15, 16, same pattern. So we'll fast forward through the rest of this and we'll get into the juicy detention motion. But you can see the grand jury came out and indicted him. Now, as I said, the only things you're really seeing in here are the facts that you need, right? What is count 21? Oh, it just says specifically, like it's like date, location, the elements of the offense, and then the specific conduct. Like that's it. Jack Smith's indictment is like 15 pages. The whole indictment's, I think, 43 pages. They scrubbed it down to, like, in their new superseding indictment, to like 30 something for 5 counts. For 5 counts, it's a much longer indictment because this is 11 pages. This is like 34 because it's a big, fat speaking indictment, right? This is how it's supposed to look. But Jack Smith is not even a real boy or a real prosecutor. So that's probably why he doesn't know better. But that is the indictment. Now, let's take a look at what this guy actually said. So, the Alaskan assassin is in custody. The prosecutors are seeking to keep him there. You see, the government has submitted a notice of intent to seek a detention hearing, saying that we are going to move to keep him in custody. Why? Well, there's a real serious risk that this guy's going to bail. He's demonstrated a history of bailing, and he doesn't like to obey court orders. So he's probably got a prior record of failure to appear. A serious risk that he's going to obstruct or try to intimidate justice, and the victims might be harmed as well. So here's the background. The defendant in this case, the Alaskan assassin, has now been indicted for threatening to assault, kidnap, and murder 6 judges of the United States Supreme Court and some of their family members. Now, he began sending concerning message to SCOTUS in the spring of 2023. The United States Supreme Court police reviewed the message and deemed them concerning enough to warrant an investigation from the FBI. FBI agents in Anchorage did contact the defendant. They said, hey, you're going to kill the judges or what? Now, after this contact, the defendant sent a message to the Supreme Court referencing the FBI interview and daring the judges to come visit my house. Hey, thanks for sending your FBI goons over here. Next time, why don't you come in person, Clarence? Totally lost it. Now, the messages continued throughout 2023, and then they took an even more violent turn. Excerpts from some of these messages include, see if you can see what side of the aisle this guy is on. I'd like to see former President number 1 and Supreme Court Justice number 1 hanging together from an oak tree. I'd gladly provide the rope and I'd pull the handle. This is not good. So I wonder what president and what judge that could be. Who could it be? He says N-word number 1, which is not appropriate. Now, is it male or female? Because you're presuming he's calling a black judge that word. And he calls him a worthless piece of crap, right? It's not good. Now, bad word. Now, I would have no reservations, he said in May, I would have no reservations about walking up to another Supreme Court judge and not asking him to take it down, but to put a bullet in this judge's head. He said on May 17th, I'm going to call and urge my fellow Vietnam veterans, we still don't really know what party he's a part of, to drive by the Supreme Court number 2 justice's house with their AR-15s, and when Supreme Court Justice 2 and his effing piece of C-word wife are home, spray the home of these disrespectful MFers with hundreds of rounds, hopefully killing these, and hopefully blank Supreme Court Judge 1 and his white trailer trash, insurrectionist wife are visiting. There you go. Now you know who it is. His insurrectionist wife. All right, so Supreme Court Justice number 1, we now know is Clarence Thomas, and insurrectionist wife. Well, actually, this could be Alito. I mean, it could be Alito. So Clarence Thomas, I was going to say Ginny Thomas, might be the insurrectionist wife. It could be Ginny Thomas. No, it's got to be, it's got to be Clarence Thomas. Okay, so it's Clarence Thomas and Ginny Thomas. All right, we got it. Yeah, this guy's... Man, he's not happy. Now, I don't want to see these 2 corrupt MFers assassinated, he said. I'd like to see them tortured. Worse than Kim Jong-un would torture his own family. Wow, that's bad. Wow. This guy, he says, like putting electrodes up their butts and on their Tim walls and needles under their fingernails, right? This guy's like just on a tear. Okay, so I'm not going to read it all. It's pretty bad. And we try to not program our brain with this garbage. But this is what this guy said. He says, assassinating these persons, somebody's a hermaphrodite, whatever. He's literally calling for mass assassinations. If you're corrupt, you're corrupt. He says, we need these. We need to assassinate you, effers, is what he said. Okay, so he's like really on one. So they put all this in the notice of detention. He says, we should make Supreme Court judges 1 through 6 be afraid. Those are the conservatives. Be very afraid to leave their homes and fear for their lives every day. Yeah. Now, he repeatedly threatens to lynch. He encourages others to participate in violence. He calls that assassination patriotic. He pleads for messages to be sent to the judges themselves. And so the prosecutors are saying, look, this guy's nuts. His threats are extreme and repeated, all right? He's racist. He's homophobic. He's using vile rhetoric. It's meant to intimidate them, meant to stop them from carrying out their duties. He threatens their family members as well, and he continued and escalated his behavior even after he was visited by the FBI. So, like, he got a talking to and hasn't stopped. Now, the evidence of his guilt is overwhelming. He's admitted to sending the messages. The IP information leads to his house. They backtraced it, and the email address contains his name. Oh, no. Busted. Now, he has a history of threatening public officials. Similar threats were sent to a governor of another state. It's notable that he increased his violent rhetoric even after the FBI visited him. In one message, he made clear his disdain for federal judges and saying, one of the reasons I have such profound contempt for federal judges is based on my own experience with the Ninth Circuit. So this creates doubt. Now, he said, I hate the Ninth Circuit, so doesn't know whether he's going to even follow anything that the judge tells him to do. So he poses a risk of continuing to threaten officials, including the victims who witnessed his offense, if released into this community. There's a danger he actually may carry out the violence based on the political or personal grievances. Now, in the past, he showed that he held the victims, in this case, he held SCOTUS, right, responsible for the FBI contacting him. And so now, since he's been arrested, he's going to be even more mad. He's like, he got mad when they sent the FBI after him. And so now he's going to be even more mad. So this all happened in Anchorage, Alaska, submitted over there. So the Alaskan assassin is probably going to be staying in custody. Those messages are pretty bad. He got a talking to from the FBI. He's already sent other messages out there. We'll see if he's got any prior records or prior history. But this is the case. If you're following along, it is United States versus Anastasiou out of the District Court of Alaska. The indictment was filed today. He was arrested, and the government submitted their detention memo. So what happened in court, there was a hearing. He got a copy of the indictment. His name was verified as true. Brady advisement, set for a discovery case. And looks like we're coming back for the detention hearing. Oh, maybe today. Did that happen today? Oh, it did. Look, this is brand new. This is fresh out of the oven. Temporary order of detention. It is ordered pending the hearing that the defendant is to be detained in the custody of the United States. And he's going to be back there, set forth above. Oh, I guess this was for today, right? This was for today's hearing. So I guess the docket, okay. The docket has not been updated, so we don't know what the status is from today's hearing. But interesting case, and not a nice fella. And so maybe the Democrats should gag themselves so that these crazy people stop threatening the Supreme Court judges, right? If that's what they're going to say is the standard, if Trump is gagged because Trump can't say anything about anybody because it might be dangerous, well, then all of them should be gagged, because my guess is that guy is watching Rachel Maddow and the rest of those folks who constantly say the Supreme Court is wrecking America and violating our rights by just returning things to the natural order of the Constitution before they were perverted by our federal bureaucracy. If they toned it down a little bit, maybe they'd stop trying to kill Trump. But maybe that's what they want. We'll be here to continue to cover it. Thanks for subscribing, my friends, wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for joining us when we go live. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. Now, we're not done yet. We got some other good stuff to talk about, and I want to zoom in on Arizona because there's some weird stuff happening here in our great state. Let's talk about it. 100,000 voters in Arizona are now stuck in a weird limbo, and there are some shenanigans afoot. You remember this guy, Stephen Richer. We've talked a lot about him. He was responsible for a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of what went wrong in 2022. When on the day of the election, we had a bunch of machines have problems and ballot problems, and Kerry Lake lost that election. And there was just weird stuff. We covered it live here. We were monitoring where the problems were happening and how it affected the demographics and so on. But he was in office, and remember, he was there with Bill Onesie Twosie Gates. Bill Onesie Twosie Gates was like, we're like, hey, Bill, where are all the election results? Why are they taking so long to get them compiled so that we can, count the votes? And he said something like, well, we're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, taking out some onesie and twosies, crossing everything off. We said, what the hell? Who is this guy? We don't even talk like that here in Arizona. What the hell's he doing? Embarrassing us. So anyways, these guys have been around for a long time. And Stephen Richer is not going to be in office anymore. Oh, no. He says it's been a privilege. Elections have winners and losers, and I've lost. Which is good. Get someone else in there who's more fair. And remember, Stephen Richer also was a part, I believe, of some nonprofit organization as a Republican for Democracy or whatever, to stop insurrectionists or whatever that organization was. Now, he is posting this on X. He says, later today, my office is suing the secretary's office as though this is adversarial. And a lot of this stuff is not. They are two people on the same side who are trying to get the same thing done, but they play like they're suing each other because everybody sees, oh, they're suing each other. That must mean that they're working against each other, when in reality, we'll see if that's the truth. Now, he's saying this is the basis of the suit. He's suing, so this is our current county recorder, suing the current secretary about how to handle certain voters who need to provide proof of documented citizenship. He says since 2004, Arizona has been the only state in the country to require that a voter provide documented proof of citizenship in order to vote for a full ballot. And remember, you can have a full ballot, which includes federal votes and state level votes. So state senators, state initiatives, right? All the other things you see when you go vote, they're all on there. But if it's a federal only ballot, then you're not getting any of that state stuff. It says for all other states, like Arizona's, unique, the registrant simply has to attest under penalty of law that he's a United States citizen, right? All you got to do is check the box. And we know that illegal aliens would never break the law or never check a box ever, because there's clearly no history of them breaking the law at all, like, crossing a border illegally or something. But since 1996, Arizona has also required that residents provide proof of citizenship in order to obtain most forms of driver's licenses. So accordingly, since 2004, the vast majority of voter registration applicants have satisfied their documented proof of citizenship requirements. So most people are citizens for purposes of having this proof on file with the MVD. That's our motor vehicle division. Other states call it the DMV. To confirm this, the voter registration simply runs a check with the MVD to make sure the voter got his license after 1996. So if the MVD started checking after 96 for citizenship to get a license, well, then we just say if they checked, then we don't have to check. So do they have license with you? Great. In order to get a license, they're citizens. Great. So that's good. Now, unfortunately, the way the system was designed allowed for one group of voters to go through the cracks. Huh? Oh no. And they just discovered it right before this election. Weird. If a driver's license prior to 1996, driver got a license before that, but did not have a documented proof of citizenship on file, that could have happened. But then if he got a duplicate license, the issuance date would be updated in the statewide voter registration interface with the MVD. Then if a person went to registered, when the counties went to confirm that, the interface would yield a date after 1996, and they would say, yeah, he's got proof of citizenship because he's got a license after that date. And if he's got a license, we presume he's got citizenship. So this flaw has existed since 2004 in every county all across the state. All right, so we got a big bucket of people who are in this weird status where we don't actually know if they're citizens. So my office discovered this issue just last week. Oh, wow. And we have been working with the governor's office, which is Katie Hobbs, who was the secretary the last time our elections were rigged, and the secretary's office, a Democrat, and the MVD, and the attorney general to fix this moving forward, another Democrat, okay, Chris Mays, who's indicting all of the Trump electors, right? Okay, that's great. You're working with all these official people who everybody knows are partisan rigged hacks. So he says, okay, the number of people is 97,000 registrants across the state. Now, all of these people have attested under penalty of law that they're U.S. citizens. Now, in all likelihood, they are almost all U.S. citizens. And they actually probably know, right, that like who these people are and what kind of voters they are. And the question is, are these people who had these licenses way back in 1996, right, before this was all in place, were those illegal aliens? Or are these actual citizens who are going to be disenfranchised here? And what kind of citizens? Are they Republican citizens or Democrat citizens? And why did they just discover this all of a sudden? And why is Katie Hobbs and the rest of the same people who we allege were responsible for rigging the last election, why are they all involved in the solution all of a sudden? And now Stephen Richer, who just lost his election, who's on his way out, is giving everybody a big, fat, disgusting meal right on his way out. Here you go. Eat this one. Enjoy it. So he's suing another friendly, Adrian Fontes. And remember, they all have an interest in disenfranchising the Republican voters on the state ballots, right? If there's a bunch of Republicans in this bucket and they can disenfranchise them, then they're not going to be voting on state issues. Could be 100,000 people that only can vote in federal elections. So all of these people have said that they're citizens, and citizenship is a little bit of a red herring, right? Now, they have not provided documented proof of citizenship. And so moving forward, everyone agrees that we need this. We need DPOC for those voters for them to be on a full ballot. But the secretary and I, Chris Mays, who's prosecuting Trump voters, no, she's the AG, Adrienne Fontes, who's a Democrat, and I have different opinions on what the law requires. It's my position that these registrants do not have citizenship that's been documented under the law. And so therefore, they can only vote on the federal level, right? So they can only vote for president and I think Senate. But the secretary, Adrienne Fontes, says, no, it's too close to the election to implement such a change and that it would be unduly burdensome on voters and it would deprive them of their voting rights. He's like, we're printing the ballots right now. So this guy says, we're going to court to get a clear answer, and he filed a lawsuit. And you can see why he might want them off, right? If he is an anti-Trump Republican type of person who's politically involved, and then he might have a political animus here or not, right? Maybe he's just saying, no, I just want to bring this to everybody's attention. What's so interesting about this is that he discovered it right now. Their office just discovered it. And so Katie Hobbs, let's see what she said. She wrote a statement about this and said, after Recorder Richer, the guy we just read, brought an erroneous voter registration record to my attention, my team identified and fixed this error that originated in 2004. And it affects longtime residents who've received a driver's license before 96. Now, as soon as I became aware of the problem, I directed the MVD to work with the secretary to aggressively develop and implement a solution. And out of an abundance of caution, I will be implementing an independent audit to ensure that MVD systems are functioning as necessary to support voter registration. I'm proud of the MVD for their hard work implementing a fix. Richer said, I appreciate Hobbs and their MVD to ensure all Arizona recorders are receiving reliable and up-to-date information. After my team noticed the MVD database inconsistencies, they just discovered this. The governor and the MVD acted swiftly to fix the statewide issue and maintain thorough communication. Here's the background. Beginning December 8, 2004, stuff we all read. MVD issues duplicate licenses. As soon as we discovered this, on September 7th, she ordered the MVD to work with the Secretary of State's office to address the programming interface error. Programming errors! The corrections have since been developed by the MVD, and the administrative error will be corrected pending final action by the Secretary of State. I don't trust these people at all. But it seems like what they're trying to do now is to disenfranchise about 100,000 people from the state ballot, okay, from the state level. Richer is saying, no, sorry, it's too late. You have to go. And the secretary is saying, well, no, my fake position is that it's too close to the election. So what can happen is they, just like we saw back last time during the COVID era, where they would come to these fake settlement agreements. And they would just, no, let's settle this. Okay, here's our agreement. This is what we'll do. And they sue each other in order to create an outcome that gives them a political benefit. Happened everywhere in 2020. And we'll see where this goes right now. But it's been filed, and the Republican Party has jumped in on this. So here's what the Republicans are saying. Filed in the Arizona Supreme Court, you see that this is the filing. The original complaint was with Stephen Richer versus Adrienne Fontes. So it's one government official who lost his election and is leaving versus the Secretary of State. This guy unequivocally does not like Trump. I mean, that's my opinion, my interpretation of what he says, but has supported anti-insurrection causes and all sorts of things. Adrienne Fontes is a through and through liberal, right? So they're playing patty cake with one another, but they hide it with this little versus sign. Oh, look, we're fighting with each other. They're like, oh no, don't hit me. No, stop. And then they settle and they come to bad terms that are bad for us. So here's the brief of the Republican Party. And remember, Richer is suing to get 100,000 people off of the state-only ballots. So the Republican Party says, hey, let us in. We represent 1.4 million registered voters. And this relief sought by Richer would violate state and federal law. His judgment flouts national voter registration laws. that have specific procedures for removing ineligible voters from the voter rolls. Like there's a process for this. You don't just get to take them off. Section 8 says that they should conduct regular voter list maintenance and figure this out, well before we're in the middle of an election. Beyond restricting the permissible basis for removing people, it also prohibits voter list maintenance at certain times, specifically including from now up until the election, right? He's just pulling this out of his booty. Oh, look what we found. 100,000 Republicans. We're going to try to get off the rolls. A state must complete any program, the purpose of which is to remove names not later than 90 days prior to the date of a general election. This period is known as the NVRA blackout period, and this year it began on August 7th. So notable for its absence from this permissible reason, right? There's no reason to remove people when it's government clerical errors, let alone colossal errors that are going to diminish the voting rights of 100,000 voters who are not going to be voting for their local school board or their corporation commissioner or whatever. Voters who have resided in Arizona for 3 decades or more and have never previously been notified of any issues with their registrations would now be informed that they cannot vote on a full ballot without first producing documentary proof of citizenship. So it's a little too late. Not only is a coding error on the part of a government agency an invalid reason for attempting to invalidate registering eligible voters, but the damage is compounded by the fact that this guy, Richer, is trying to do this during the blackout period when the removal is literally unlawful. And so he cannot get this relief here. And so if he does this, it's going to violate the U.S. Constitution. Remember, the Constitution gives us some tests. Weigh the character and the magnitude of the injury against the rights that are protected by the First and the 14th Amendment. And there's a severe burden that the government needs to meet when they're trying to rip away your right to vote. It is difficult to imagine a state action that would impose a more severe burden on the right to vote than abruptly informing an individual who's lived and voted in Arizona for decades and previously voted in all elections, both state and federal, that they must suddenly prove that they're a U.S. citizen in the handful of days that remain before Arizona's October 7th voter registration deadline, if they want to vote. And that assumes that the notice is provided and actually reaches people. For many, given the short amount of time that's available to provide notice before the election, Stephen Richer's recorded proposed notice of the glitch that he just discovered. A lot of glitches this year. Google's having them. All of them are popping up all over the place. Weird. May never reach the voter. They may only discover it when they go to vote in person or they receive the federal only mail-in ballot, when it would be too late to cure the deficiency because the state goofed. Hence, strict scrutiny would apply here because you're going to diminish their right to vote. And so if you're going to do something that diminishes the right to vote, you better have a damn good reason to do it. Now, the government's compelling interest in this case is presumably the need to verify the citizenship status, and they're going to apply the test here. So we have different tests. We have a rational basis test, which is a very low test. Basically means if the government has any rational basis to do the thing, they can do it. It's not your right. It's not, you don't have anything, you don't have any basis to say anything against it. So they have a basis to do it. They do it. Then we have intermediate scrutiny, and then we have strict scrutiny. When the government's going to pass a law that impedes one of your constitutional rights, one of your fundamental liberties, then they've got to show that it is they have a compelling interest. It's almost absolutely necessary for them to do this. There's no other way for them to accomplish this, and they're doing it in a way that is minimal to the damage on your rights. So they're identifying the standard. They're saying, okay, it's the higher standard. It's a much more difficult thing. If Richer is going to be allowed to remove these people, that's the test we have to apply. They continue. They say Stephen Richer, he admits that the administrative error that prompted this has existed since 2005. Okay, it's happened through 9 election cycles. Our most safe and secure elections are apparently not. There's problems in them. They don't have a good idea on who's a citizen or not. Even though these people probably are, right, and very clearly are not the problematic people that we're talking about who have been coming across the border and then being registered, or there's questions about whether this is happening or not, right? That's not exactly the category we're talking about. These are from 1996. But the point is, they still don't have all of the control that they claim they have. Now, it demonstrates that the state's interest is insufficiently compelling, right? Don't act like this is an emergency because you've been allowing this to go on forever. So now you want to suddenly disenfranchise people? And furthermore, it doesn't make it necessary to burden those voting rights now. If requiring proof of citizenship for people who've held a valid license and they have since before 1996 was not deemed necessary for them to vote in 06, 08, 12, and so on, then it's likewise insufficiently compelling to abruptly require it on the eve of the deadline to vote now. And finally, it's not narrowly tailored to demand that the voters take immediate action and rectify this right now. The fault is with the government. If this court grants this declaratory judgment, almost 100,000 Arizonans will be prevented from voting on a full ballot. It's difficult to imagine a remedy that would sweep more broadly than that. Now, the requested relief would also violate the Due Process Clause. And you can imagine if the Arizona GOP is jumping in on this, right, if they're filing this amicus brief, they know that those are Republicans. It's not the DNC who is filing on this to stop the Republicans from doing this. The RNC is. And Stephen Richer, who is, in my opinion, a fake Republican, he claims he's a Republican, but then, does stuff like this. He's trying to get these people off the state ballots. The GOP is trying to keep them on. So you can basically identify who those voters are. So they also say, if 100,000 longtime Arizonans are prevented from voting this year solely due to a state administrative error that's gone unnoticed for almost 20 years, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, look what we found, then the federal due process rights of everyone affected would be violated. The 14th Amendment provides that you cannot deprive people of liberty without due process of law. Voting is part of that. And just having him unilaterally just delete people in the run-up to the election is inappropriate. The right to vote is fundamental. And the risk of depriving people of that fundamental right is very high, is extremely and unforgivably high. We're talking about 100,000 people here. And it's come up a mere 3 days before the Uokava ballots are set to be mailed to voters. Now, although the current situation is instigated by the discovery of a lawful permanent resident with an Arizona's driver's license, so they said, we found an Arizona driver who's not a citizen that has a license, Petitioner Richer concedes most of these voters are likely U.S. citizens, right? Meaning that there are more likely false negatives in there. So U.S. citizens are there rather than true positives who would be non-citizens. Now, that admission is crucial here. Procedural due process means that even if there's a risk of error inherent in there, we got to consider that. Now, he admits that the generality of these cases, if we go forward with this, it will erroneously diminish the voting rights of people who are in fact citizens. It's clear. Some people will show up to vote and they'll get a half ballot. Disenfranchised. They say, finally, at a minimum, the Due Process Clause requires that the deprivation of a liberty interest, in this case would be the right to vote, comes with hearing and notice. You don't just rip somebody's right to vote away. You got to provide them notice of that. That's the process. But Richer has properly expressed concern that whatever notice is provided is insufficient. He even knows this. So he issued guidance to county recorders ordering that they permit the affected voters to participate in all elections this year and verify voter eligibility later, right? So he's saying, okay, count them now, but we're going to try to disqualify them later, I guess. So unlike in most due process cases, the government here would not be forced to shoulder any additional administrative burden if you took our position. They want to impose additional costs. They want to interfere with all this right in the middle of the busiest part of the election season. They want to invalidate tens of thousands of valid voter registrations in the weeks leading up to the presidential election. The Due Process Clause does not require or permit this result to happen. And it would also violate Arizona and our Free and Equal Elections Clause. Arizona Constitution says all elections shall be free and equal, and no power shall at any time interfere to prevent the free exercise of the right of suffrage. Now, it must be read to apply to citizens. Now, each of the affected voters currently have the right of suffrage, and they've exercised that for decades. But here, Richer seeks to interfere with the free exercise of that in an 11th hour demand for proof of citizenship suddenly. If it had acted competently, if he would have looked into this a long time ago, he could have identified it back in 2005. That relief violates the Arizona Constitution for the same reasons as it does under the Constitution. And if for no other reason, the requested relief should be denied because court orders that affect elections can themselves result in voter confusion. Given the proximity to this election, it is less likely that voters will stay home than they will show up to vote without knowing that there's a problem with their registration. In other words, U.S. citizen voters who have lived in Arizona for decades and consistently participated in state elections without an issue are likely to show up at their polling place only to learn that they've been disenfranchised by a state government bureaucrat of which they had no prior knowledge. And confidence in the integrity in our election process is fundamental to our participatory democracy. And so if you allow this to happen, people show up, they're like, what the heck is this? Where's our school board person? That would undermine that confidence. And so for the foregoing reasons, the court should decline to grant Stephen Richards' request to disenfranchise 100,000 American or Arizonans from the ballot, signed by Andrew Gould. And it's interesting. Look, I'm all in favor of making sure our voters are citizens. Like, that's not something that we're ceding. What's curious is he's now just bringing this up all of a sudden. And he's identifying non-citizen voters who are a bucket of Republicans, okay? Not the actual non-citizen voters that we're so concerned about, who are just checking the box for the federal-only ballots. Okay, that's the big bucket. So this is very sneaky. It's very smart. It's very clever. He's like, well, don't you Republicans want? I thought you wanted citizenship on the ballot. We do. Yeah, we do. You should have settled this a long time ago. And so you basically ensnared and entrapped a bunch of people who are very likely citizens, who would happily provide citizens. In fact, I'm sure they would all like to be, clearly citizens. But they pop it up at the last minute. Then he sues to keep their votes off the ballot. So we have the Arizona GOP chair, Gina Swoboda. She's breaking down this error. She put out a 20-minute video. I want to share with you a little bit of the beginning of it. We boosted the volume here for our listening pleasure and dropped that below the tweet. So let's listen in. This is what the GOP party chair says from a whiteboard update with Gina Swoboda.
This is Gina Swoboda, chairwoman of the Republican Party of Arizona, and we have a very important...
And we're going to be playing this at 1.25.
And breaking update. This concerns voter registration rolls here in the state of Arizona. We have an issue. I'm going to tell you what the issue is. I'm going to tell you what my position is as the chair of the Republican Party of Arizona in addressing this issue, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so the state of the law in the state of Arizona is that if you got your driver's license before October of 1996 and you registered to vote before 2004, you were grandfathered in as a voter, and you did not have to go and provide documented proof of citizenship. Why is that, right? We know, we've talked before. Go to YouTube, go to our many videos, put in AZGOP on YouTube. In October of 1996, our motor vehicle department in Arizona started having digital signatures on your driver's license, okay? And before that, I still have my old driver's license, which I got in 1995. It was just your regular signature. There was no digital image of your signature. So that's where this first date comes from. So if you had a driver's license that was before October of 96, where we didn't have a digital signature on file for you, and we did not automatically keep track of whether or not you were a citizen, you're in this bucket here, okay? Then the next bucket is you registered to vote prior to 2004. Why is this date important? Because 2004 is when the voters of Arizona passed Prop 200, which required that in order to register to vote, you had to provide documented proof of citizenship. So when that went into effect, what the voters voted on, the voters agreed that, hey, anyone who has a driver's license from before October 96 or who registered to vote before 2004, you got grandfathered in to our system as a full ballot voter. So you may have shown proof of citizenship, We don't know that because we weren't keeping digital records prior to October of 1996 that would have given you, like, we have an F-type license. If you go get a license in Arizona and you don't show proof of citizenship, you get an F-type license. And so we know you're not a citizen. That didn't exist at this point. And then before 2004, you were not required to prove citizenship in Arizona when you registered to vote. Okay? So as part of that ballot measure that the voters voted on, we agreed, the voters voted to take this group of people and grandfather them in. They're going to still get a full ballot. If you go register today, you get that state form, you don't provide proof of citizenship, you don't get registered at all. You go register to vote today, you fill in a federal form, what are you? You're a federal only voter. Why is that? The Supreme Court of the United States says so. Until we get back there, that's why. What does it mean to be a Fed only voter? You only see federal races on the ballot. You see president and vice president, you see Senate, and you see Congress. What don't you see? Don't see any state races, don't see any, that means the legislature's not on there, your county offices aren't on there, and your ballot measures aren't on there. The only thing that's gonna be on there if you're a federal only voter is federal races. So that's where we were, that's how it worked. But there's been a snafu. So what happened here? We were informed today, so the governor's office held a call with the leaders of the legislature and with the Secretary of State, and there are articles out there. You go right now out there. I don't want any of our particular media. Vote Beat by Jen Field has an article. Washington Post has an article. Axios has an article. It's all over the place right now. You can go see the breakdown of this, but I'm going to tell you the breakdown. So what has happened is the motor vehicle department, when you change something on your driver's license record, they were changing the issue date of when your license was issued, right? So if the system was set up so that those who had an issue date
got a new license
prior to October of 96 did not have to provide proof of citizenship, they registered prior to 2004, so it wasn't required, and their driver's license was before October of 1996. That's a finite group of people. But here's what happened at motor vehicle. They started changing the issue date of your driver's license when you updated it, right? So people now who got a license pre-96, right, but registered after 2004, okay? So you registered to vote after it was a requirement for you to provide proof of citizenship, they were getting a full ballot. That's what's happened. So we have a group of people who were registered as a full ballot voter and potentially should have been a federal only voter. Let's talk, so the reason, we're all on the same page, the reason this happened is that motor vehicle, the flag that was tied to the issue date of your driver's license, when you changed your driver's license, the date changed, and when the date changed, they automatically took you out of this bucket. So people that should have potentially provided proof of citizenship were not asked to do so, and they got a full ballot. Okay, so that's where we are right now. We learned this morning as I'm talking to you.
Okay, and as a separate point, we're not even talking about the bucket of people who are just getting federal only ballots, right? Come in, I don't have proof of citizenship, don't care about proof of citizenship, don't want a full ballot, happy to get a federal ballot. The proof of citizenship is required for the state races, not the federal races.
So let's talk about who these voters are, and then I'll tell you my position on what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
There are 97,841 voters in the bucket. I don't have the query, the SQL database query that is being used, and the numbers are changing on us. At one point, they said there were 66,000 Republicans out of 99,000 people. Now, this is the latest information that I have, but they're not.
66,000 Republicans, okay? 2/3 Republicans. So they're going to try to nuke 100,000 people. 66,000 Republicans are not going to be on state races, right? State ballot races if Stephen Richer gets his way. So all those local races, all those state senates, anything state related, governor, secretary of state, state AG, all of it gone. They only vote for the federal things. Isn't that fun?
Not giving me, hey, Gina, here's the SQL query we used on the database to figure out how many voters there are. So I'm going to tell you the numbers I was given because that's all I can tell you, okay? 36,507 Republicans, 26,857 Democrats, 28,561 PND, party not designated. Then that also says other. I'm not sure why, because there's yet another other. The other is 15,013 for a total of 97,841 voters are in this bucket. So as I'm talking to you, everyone needs to be clear. The UOCAVA ballots, the military ballots, the civilian overseas ballots are getting mailed out by Maricopa County Thursday of this week. Early voting starts here in Arizona in 21 days, okay? So here's what would have to happen for these 97,841 people to be okay and not become confused and not suddenly have their ballot change on them. They have no idea that this has happened to them.
Right.
The county recorders would have to issue a notice in the mail. Remember, we don't have phone numbers on everybody. We don't have emails on everybody. Okay, so they're going to have to send a notice in the mail that's going to have to get to the 97,841 people and say, hey, we had a mix-up at the motor vehicle office, and you need to come in and show us your proof of citizenship. Otherwise, we're going to change you.
Great job.
You've always had a full ballot, but now, for example, you 36,507 Republican voters, or now you 28,561 party not designated voters, you're going to have to go find your proof of citizenship and bring it to us so that we can adjust your voter registration. Here's my position on that, okay? That's not fair to the voters. We are within the 90-day National Voter Registration Act, NVRA. We've talked about it before. That is a federal law that talks about the ways in which states are permitted to do voter list maintenance. I hope you all know, and if you don't know, you're about to know, I love the voter rolls. I love voter list maintenance. When I'm not your chair, which I'm very proud to be, I help run an organization that is dedicated to preserving the integrity of the voter rolls by making them available to the public, so the public can do oversight under the NVRA. But there's a very important part of the NVRA, which is the law, as I'm standing here talking to you, and that is safe harbor, okay? Safe harbor is 90 days before an election. No county clerk, county recorder, county registrar, whatever they're called, in whatever state they're in, doesn't matter, this is federal law, they are not permitted to do routine voter list maintenance within those 90 days. Why do we do that? Congress debated it. Congress came up with it. We may feel differently about it. We may think like that's crazy and we should make it 30 days or we should make it 60 days. But as I'm filming this video, it's the law under the NVRA that you don't do routine list maintenance. And that would include moving someone from active to inactive or from inactive to canceled. We don't do these normal routine things in that 90-day window because we don't want voters to be disenfranchised because it's too close to the election. That's why, right? You have the whole year of 2023. You had all of this time in 2024. You don't want to run right up to 90 days before and then start going, go to your grandpa's safety deposit box and you don't know where it is, to go and find your birth certificate, to go and make a copy, to go and bring it down there when you haven't even gotten the notice yet because you don't know anything's wrong. These 97,000, 98,000, if we round up, right, people have no idea there's anything wrong because this wasn't their fault. This was a mistake made by motor vehicle.
Our government, who
so
says our elections
this
are
is
perfect.
Not routine voter list maintenance because this is an actual issue that came up and only affected these people. Fair enough. Let's go to the second thing that I'm going to cite for you, and that is the Purcell principle. What is the Purcell principle? The Purcell principle is named after Helen Purcell, who was our county recorder in Maricopa for over 25 years, and it's from SCOTUS. It's from the Supreme Court of the United States. And the point of the Purcell principle is not to change anything about the voting process when you get too close to an election, because again, you are invariably going to cause confusion for people. Now, I want to make something super abundantly 100% clear. Please hear me when I say this. No matter what happens with this issue or how this issue is resolved, people who have not provided documented proof of citizenship are going to get a ballot in this election, and it will allow them to vote for president, U.S. Senate, and Congress.
Yes.
So whatever happens with this, the only decision we're making, we're not going to go, oh yes, give them a federal only ballot and they haven't provided citizenship. They're going to get a federal only ballot. The question is, are we going to stop these 36,507 Republicans or these 26,857 Democrats or these 28,000 PNDs or these 15,000 others? Are we going to stop 97,841 people from being able to vote for the legislature, and for the county offices, and for their local city council races, and for their school board races, and for the ballot measures?
Yes, all of that.
That's what we're talking about. No matter what we do or don't do, they're still going to get a federal only ballot and be able to vote in the federal only race. We're talking about our people who have been given, the 36,000 Republicans here, who have no idea that something's gone wrong at motor vehicle, who for all we know actually gave the right documents. We don't know. There are notes in some of them. We can't tell. So these people have always gotten a full ballot. And then they're going to get their ballot in the mail in 20 days. And what's going to happen? I'm going to open my ballot. Let's say I don't get the postcard. Let's say I'm traveling. Let's say I am, as we talk about, right? I am Jack and I'm traveling and I signed up. We talked in our last video about signing up for a one-time absentee ballot, and they mail me the ballot and I open it up and all of my races are gone. Where is my school board? Where is my county? Where are my ballot measures? Perhaps Jack is very passionate and he's against ranked choice voting. Perhaps Sally, his lovely bride, is very passionate and wants to vote against the abortion amendment to the Constitution. Well, Jack.
Perfect. That's perfect. That's exactly what Stephen Richer and that side of the state contingent want. and they're going to say it's done on the back of proof of citizenship. So you can see, and there was a great comment from Stacy, always feels like they have glitches that seem to serve them. So this was a great report from Gina Swoboda over from the Republican Party of Arizona. And as we saw, and as we heard her explain, you are still going to get a federal ballot in Arizona if you do not provide citizenship. Okay, they always say that, and you have to check a box, and the box is under penalty of perjury and all the stuff. Okay, but even people who've been residents for decades, who've been living here, been voting in many other elections, right? Even now they're saying, well, maybe we're going to kick them off the ballot. And even we're going to give them federal only races. So there are problems everywhere. These people every year, Stephen Richards, the guy who came out after Kerry Lake lost, after 2022 when Arizona flipped for Joe Biden, the guy that came out and said everything is safe and secure with Bill 1Z2Z. Nothing went wrong. All our systems are amazing. We have no illegals voting and all the things. It's all just propaganda from their disgusting, corrupt, bureaucratic agencies that they use to maintain their power. So now Richard is going to be working with Katie Hobbs and Chris Mays on a solution. We're great. Great for that. And Adrian Fontes is going to come out and deliver us a nice fix. All right. So we're going to be here, obviously, continuing to cover this, what's happening in Arizona and the other swing states. Thanks, my friends, for subscribing and joining us as we do. Now, we've got one final segment to jump into, and we've got an update here on this rally. The mystery continues after a Trump rally in Tucson, Arizona. We had some people with some eyes burning, and they are now speaking out. They did an interview with local news that we'll take a look at. But the Independent came out with an article recently saying the Secret Service is saying they don't know anything about this. They say, yeah, there's some reports of some injuries, but what happened? Who knows? Trump was in Arizona, and attendees who were at the event in Tucson said that there was a bizarre eye burning that happened after the event. They started to experience this thing. 6 rally-goers who were all in the section directly behind Trump during the Thursday rally told News 4, we'll watch the video, that they had to go to medical and seek attention. They had eye irritation. And we were talking about this morning on our members-only stream for YouTube and locals about other situations like this. And I think there was that one concert recently that happened where there were people with burned retinas. I think that they were like lasers in their eyes or something like that. And that was my initial thought. But then we start hearing about chemical attacks and other things. So they had to seek attention. One woman is a pro-life activist. Her name is Maya Rodriguez. Said that she was in so much pain the morning after the campaign event, she needed to constantly use a cold cloth on her eyes. She originally worked at Planned Parenthood for 17 years, got fired, became a whistleblower. She thought she was experiencing allergies. Here is a photograph from Tucson, Arizona. Nice crowd, nice looking crowd. Says, as soon as we left, we stepped outside. My eyes were burning. By the time she reached her home near Phoenix, 90-minute drive from Tucson, yeah, if you go fast, Rodriguez decided she needed to visit the emergency room. Their medical staff asked her if she had been exposed to some sort of substance, as her symptoms sounded like she was sprayed with something, right? So she went to the ER. Medical staff were unable to determine the cause of the symptoms. Her vision has begun to improve, saying blindness wasn't permanent. A brother and sister who also sat near her but did not want to be identified reported the same. All focus on my eyes. My eyes were like red like hell, he said. It's unbearable, the brother said. I couldn't even handle it. Sister said that her eyes were watering and nose was running before she started feeling flushed. A third woman is a realtor, wanted to remain anonymous, said she had to cancel all her showings over the weekend because her vision was so bad, right? It's not like a one-off incident. Was the first incident since the debate. Now, the outlet that she told the Independent, so they talked to Rodriguez, told this company that she had contacted the Trump campaign, and they said that they were going to be investigating this. A Secret Service spokesman also talked to the Independent, said that there was no threat to the former president that was identified at the rally, said agents stood next to Trump throughout the event. Therefore, the agency has not launched an investigation into the reports. Trump campaign told News 4 that they're collecting information, saying we remain committed to the countless patriots that attend our high-energy, high-impact rallies across the country. But the Secret Service had not even been made aware of these reports there's 2 of them now, that had no concern say we have no concern for the president's safety. Other assassination attempts are obviously popping up, unfortunately, way too often. Here was a report from KVOA News for Tucson, and we're going to see some interviews from some of these people who were there.
Supporters of former President Donald Trump that were allowed to sit behind his stage at his Tucson rally last week tell the News 4 Tucson investigators they left with mysterious injuries to their eyes. News 4 Tucson's chief investigative reporter Course Nylander is live outside the Tucson Music Hall downtown. Course, what are we learning about their situation?
Yeah, well, Monica, this is where thousands of people came out to hear former President Donald Trump speak last week. There was a group of 48 people allowed to sit on stage behind Trump throughout the event. They were split into two groups on each side of the stage. One side seemed to walk away without any issues, but multiple people seated near each other on the other side tell me that they had to go to the emergency room after they left the event. Here tonight, for the first time, the Trump campaign is confirming that they're investigating this situation.
Wow.
No taxes on Social Security benefits for our seniors.
More than 2,000 people filled up the Tucson Music Hall Thursday to hear Donald Trump's first speech in Tucson this campaign as Election Day nears. Some of his biggest supporters were allowed to sit behind him on stage. Supporters like Mayra Rodriguez, a former director of Planned Parenthood with a notable shift to being pro-life. In 2016, she sat behind presidential candidate Hillary Clinton on stage at an event. Now she supports Donald Trump.
Nice.
She enjoyed the rally, but once she left, everything changed.
As soon as we left and I step outside, I start feeling like my eyes were burning.
At first, she thought it might be allergies. She lives near Phoenix. By the time she got home, it was so bad she decided to go to the emergency room.
The emergency room staff keeps saying, from the triage nurse to the PA, and are you sure you don't get spray anything? Your symptoms look like you were sprayed something.
The News 4 Tucson investigators spoke to her the morning after the rally, Friday last week. That morning, she was nearly blind.
I can't see anything. When I try to open my eyes, it's like a white cloud covered. It hurts. It hurts a lot to open my eyes. I have this cold cloth that I put on and I take off all the time. But this is horrible.
She says the doctors weren't able to determine what exactly caused it. Her initial thought of allergies went out the window when she heard from several others seated next to her at the rally that also ended up seeking medical attention with the same symptoms.
It kept getting worse and worse. My eyes started watering a lot. My nose started running. Then I started feeling my face get really flushed, and then my neck felt like it was on fire. And it just progressed from there.
This Tucson woman, who doesn't want to be identified, was seated in the same area behind Trump with her brother. Both walked away with eye injuries and sought medical attention.
I was all focused on my eyes. I mean, my eyes were red like hell, It's like,
what on earth?
It's just like unbearable. You just couldn't, I couldn't handle it. I just couldn't handle it.
Whatever caused it seems to be isolated to the group seated on stage right. Former Congressional District 6 candidate Kathleen Wynne was seated on the opposite side of the stage and says she and everyone she knows seated near her walked away without any issues.
We hope that there's no nefarious actors in this and that this is not a strategic hit for those that are supporting Donald Trump.
Mayra reported her injuries to the Trump campaign and says she was told it was being investigated. Mayra feels it's crucial for people to be made aware of what happened and what could have caused her injuries.
Obviously, what I would like is an investigation, right? That this does not get away with it.
Weird.
I want to be very clear. We do not know at this point if a person caused any of this or what exactly the cause could be. We can only speculate at this point, but that apparently is what the Trump campaign is trying to get to the bottom to at this point. Less than an hour ago, the Trump campaign senior advisor Danielle Alvarez sent us a statement reading, quote, "The Trump campaign has been collecting information. We remain committed to the countless patriots that attend our high-energy, high-impact rallies across the country." I did also speak with the United States Secret Service. They tell me they were not informed of any of this and only learned about it when I called them, but they said there was no known threat to President Trump during his event here in Tucson last week. We'll update you as we get more information on this situation. We're live from downtown Tucson tonight. Course Nylander, News 4 Tucson.
The Secret Service has no idea, obviously. They're just like still waking up. Oh, chemical attack. What? No. No, we're still trying to figure out what the hell happened in Butler. We don't even know where that is. So, no, we have no idea what's going on today. The chemical attack, no, we can't even... Chemicals, that's chemistry. We can't even stand on roofs, okay? So cut us some slack. No, we have no idea about a chemical attack. Yeah, right. We can't even stop. We can't even stop a 21-year-old kid. Get out of here, chemical attacks. What do you think? Who do you think we are, the Mossad? Get out of here. So, anyways, so that's one report. We had another report over here from 12 News. Let's see what they were saying on their news station with some audio.
Have reported severe eye pain since the event. Good evening and thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 6. I'm Kadima Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. 6 people who sat behind the former president on stage say they experienced eye irritation so bad they actually had to seek medical attention. 12 News journalist Jonathan McCall joins us with this developing story. Jonathan?
Hey, Mark Kriebe, good evening. We actually just got a chance to talk with one of those women on stage at the time who says that her eye pain so severe after that rally last Thursday, she had to go to the ER to get treatment.
Yeah, it's Myra, huh? Must be Myra again.
She has not had blurred vision since then. Myra Rodriguez was on stage when President Trump walked out onto stage at the Linda Ronstadt Music Hall in Tucson last Thursday for that rally. She was sitting on stage right behind him.
Could be something like that.
She says after that
some
rally,
other chemical.
she says she started noticing some eye irritation, and then she says things started to get worse by the hour. She says in a matter of hours, she had to go to the ER to get treatment. And she says she couldn't even lift her eyes, open her eyes up to be able to get information, to be able to see or even talk to other folks. Initially, she thought it was allergies until the very next day when she was in the ER. She says she started hearing from other folks who were also sitting in the same section as she was, who started also complaining about eye issues as well. Rodriguez said a doctor told her the injuries were not caused by the lights. She says, again, her eyesight has improved, and again, today was the very first day she has not had blurred vision since that day, but she says her eyes are still sensitive to the light. She says she'd definitely like to know exactly what it was that caused that pain for not only her, but others in the same section.
Well, of course, yeah, the curiosity, right, of what could have happened. Why just that group, right? Especially why only the group that was where Trump came in, right? Why not the other side, right? Why just this side of the group? And of course, I would like to, but it will be nearly impossible, I think, at this point, so many days after the event, that venue has been wiped out.
Whoa.
So Rodriguez says she has been in contact with the Trump campaign about what happened. The Trump campaign says it is looking into that incident about what happened. As for officials with the Linda Ronstadt Music Hall, 12 News did reach out to them for comment. So far, we have yet to hear back. We're live tonight in Maricopa. Jonathan McCall, 12 News.
Man, nice shirt. That dude had a nice shirt. Yeah, that's a nice shirt. Saw a nice comment about that. Nice looking shirt there, sir. All right, so very interesting story, and don't know what that was. That photograph of her eye looked pretty dang rough. So was it an isolated thing? Did somebody have some perfume? Did something pop off? Did somebody spill something? Was it something under the rafters there? A leak? Freon? Or was this something a lot more nefarious? And we've seen the directed energy stuff, those conversations that you can point a beam at somebody, they get sick, they can't hear. There was also that directed energy weapon, remember, that made you feel like your skin was on fire. Remember that one? So who knows? But we'll keep our eye on it, my friends. And we hope that you join us as we do. Thank you so much for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love you so much if you did that today, especially today. It'd be a great day to do it. But my friends, that's going to be it for us here on The Day. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. Now, we're not done yet, of course. We want to hear what you have to say about all this. I see some great donos. Some amazing super chats have come in. Look at who is here in the house, starting us off. It's Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you. Great to see you, Sheila. And so here's a little bit of an update. We might be back in the studio next week, which will be great. Then I can say what's up to all the membos who come in. But thank you, Sheila, for bringing 10 new membos in. Very nice to have you. New membo friends, welcome aboard. Membos, you get the morning streams that we do here and the Saturday shows. And you get to meet amazing new members in the members only community. It's the place to be. Jack Mack is bringing in 5 new members too. Thank you, Jack. Happy Thursday to you. Thanks for being here and bringing in new members. Sheila says, my guess is that lefties will say this isn't hate speech at all and they aren't real threats. Well, that's interesting. Then if that's their position, you know what they should do is release all the Proud Boys, release all the J6ers who were just talking like bro talk. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Look, I'm in favor of the justice system not punishing the hell out of sick people. Like, that guy sounds like a sick person. I don't know if he's an actual real threat to anybody. Maybe he is. I don't know. They certainly know better than we do. And some people do need to be taken and removed from the street. And those messages were pretty dang vulgar. But it might just be an old man who's confused and drunk and just needs a dog. You know, it might also be that. And so one solution is better than the other. And hopefully they can mete out what's required there. But as we've said here, they do not play around with that, man. That guy might be going to prison for a long time. You make threats like that, they do not play. Thank you, Sheila. Sheila says, when the FBI went to his house, was it like they showed up at Mar-a-Lago or the sidewalk counselor's house, or was it unarmed and in plain clothes? Yeah, did they raid his bedroom? They probably did. Yeah, they probably did. It was Alaska, so I imagine things are a little bit different there. But yeah, it's interesting. We'll see what the penalty is for him. It's a curious case, the Alaska assassin. Dennis Petit says Los Anchorage isn't really Alaska, but you can see it from there. Yeah, I haven't been to Alaska. My mom and Joey were just there. Greg was there. Joey's friends and family were there. It was great. They had some great pictures. They said, you have to go. I said, I want to. They said, you have to. I said, I know. I will. Tony Hay Munkets, what's up? 10 membos coming in. Thank you, Tony Hay. Welcome aboard. 10 new friends. You know who you are. Make sure you grab the stream from this morning, and we'll see you tomorrow on our members only morning stream. We've also got Tony Hay with 5 more. Thank you, Tony Hay. That's 15 right there, back to back. Sheila, another 5 coming in. Thank you, Sheila Poo. A million hugs to you. 5 membos coming in courtesy of Sheila. And Ollie is in the house. Thank you, Ollie. Ollie's bringing in 5 more membos too. We're going to have so many new membos tomorrow. I'm excited. I can't wait to meet everybody. Welcome. And make sure you come back. Membos, come and join us. Hey, what's up? Sheila Poo says we had 4.3K in the chat today. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's good to see everybody. It's a Thursday. It's pretty good for a slow news day. What else is cooking out there today? It's kind of a slow news day, I'd say. But thank you, Sheila. Thanks for the reminder to smash that like button. Thank you, Sheila. Hey, Bruce Rice is here. What's up, Bruce? Bruce Rice, Rice baby, dun 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 dun, says girls go crazy about a sharp dressed man. That's lyrical. Is that a Vanilla Ice lyric? Good evening, Rob, aka Dapper Rob, always dressed to the nines. Good to see you again. Well, this is my casual polo. These are my casual polos. These are a lot more comfortable to wear. They're kind of like gym shirts, except with a collar, so I can get away with like being casual and comfortable and like fake look professional. What's up? Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Jack. Hey, what's up, Jack? Says, thanks for keeping us informed, Rob. I wonder, when was the last time Dems won an election organically without all these shenanigans to win? Side note, I received my absentee ballot today. RFK's on the ballot, though. Oh, that's interesting, Jack. I wonder what state you're in. We did this morning an update on the RFK status on the various swing states. And I think he's off in most places, actually. It was good. Like, he's off in Pennsylvania, he's on in Wisconsin, and he's on in Michigan, which are the 2 bummers. So they kept him on there. Are you in one of those 2 states? Thank you, Jack, for the nice dono. Thanks for being here and being so supportive, being an amazing member. We love you, Jack. We got Stacy Milliken says, you notice how these glitches always work in favor of the Democrats? It's kind of funny, isn't it? Thank you, Rob, again, for all you do. Yeah, Google had those glitches too. The Google glitches were saying that Kamala's fake ads, which were literal fake, they didn't even say that they were sponsored, right? So it was like she was allowed to propagandize Google users, and they didn't even care. Hey, John Dressel. What's up, John? John became a new YouTube member. Thanks for signing up, John. You don't only have to be gifted a member. You know, it's a nice thing to do, but you can also just sign up, click that join button, and we'll see you here tomorrow. What's up? Voice of the People says, look up the Help America Vote Verification, HAVV. Look up the numbers of the Social Security website and track Arizona back through 2018, and you'll probably see some good data there. Good to see you, Voice of the People. Voice has a great channel and does some nice podcasting over there, Off-Label Podcast. Hey, Sheila. What's up, Sheila? Sheila Poo has a solution. Easy fix. Make the driver's license for non-citizens different and require picture ID to vote, and only mail-in ballot has to be requested by the voter and have a valid reason. You can't vote in person. Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying there. There's a lot of complexities, right? And there's many layers. It's hard to squeeze all of the details into a short super chat, but that is a nice one. Thank you, Sheila, for that. I think what you're talking about is election integrity, and they don't really want to do that here. They say everything's perfect, and then as you see, we discover there's 100,000 ballots that are maybe problematic or maybe not. But I'm guessing that's just the tip of the iceberg. They're not coming out like, oh, that's the only problem we have. And the fact that there's no ID to vote in certain states in this country is also just lunacy. So thank you for that, Sheila. I think that we could do well to really shore up our elections. And so you're over the target there. This one from Penelope Husker. What's up, Penelope? Says, as a proud Alaskan, an awesome state with incredible peeps. I think God likes us the best. We disavow Anastasiou, the assassin goofball. He's not one of us. Your disavowal is accepted. We don't think he's, the Alaskan assassin. It's a cool name though. You got to give me that. I mean, it's cool. Like if you called Jason Bourne that or something, like if you guys had, actually that's like a good novel right there. Take a Jason Bourne. He's from Alaska. He's like this lumberjack guy up there in the mountains in Alaska, drilling for oil. You know, shout out to our friends in Alaska. Just catching salmon or what's up there. Ah! And then he's called. Now, the novels that I'm getting really tired of all the CIA novels, I really used to like those. Those like, Secret Spy, X, whatever. Now you look at them, they're all just CIA propaganda. You ever look at them? You read them? Like, why are all these like cool lead characters all ex-CIA? Are they just writing these books? Do they just have a chat GPT that just dumps these crap books out all over the place? It's like ex-CIA, trained agent, and then you see it. We saw the one on Amazon. What was the other one on Amazon? I can't take them anymore. I'm like, oh, they're CIA, so this is government propaganda, horse crap. And once you look at it through that lens, they're like, oh, we have to go fight Iran. You're like, oh, gosh, sounds like Lindsey Graham. Anyways, enough of that. Thank you, Penelope. Shout out to our friends in Alaska and your disavowal. We don't hold them against you. What's up, Esther? What's up, Esther? Says, how many will vote unlawfully? 99,000 or maybe more? Well, that's the question. It's like, who are these people? The Republicans will be disenfranchised, but the illegal aliens who just check the box and want to vote federally, come on in. No problem at all. The Republicans, you got to prove ID. You're an illegal alien? Here, have a federal ballot and enjoy it. Sheila Poo, 5 more membos. Thank you, Sheila. That's a bunch today. Thank you for doing that. Welcome aboard, 5 new membos. And Zulu, our friend Zulu, is modding down the fort. It's Sulu now. Sulu is now gifting 10 membos. Thank you, Sulu, for gifting 10 membos, modding the fort down for us, bringing new friends in, and for being here. Jack Mack. Yes, it's a Michigan ballot. Yep, Michigan ballot. That's Jocelyn Benson. You've got Jocelyn Benson up there. Oof, it's rough. Just about as bad as Arizona with all of our people. We got it rough here too. I don't know what happened. Thank you, Jack. Sharp dressed man. It's ZZ Top. But my friend, is a ZZ Top one? I thought it might be because it was Bruce Rice. I thought it might be Ice Ice Baby. Dun, 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 Hey, what's up? Orion Starman says a low-powered UV laser couldn't be seen and would cause exactly this kind of damage to the human eye. Yeah, there was the other one. There was a concert and somebody had, I think they were the laser lights or something, and like a bunch of people had their corneas fried out of their brains. It's kind of a scary thought, actually. What the heck is this? Facts Matter is in the house. Look at this. 50 membos just came in. Oh my goodness. And I can see this one since it just dropped. Here, let's call some of these out. Hey, what's up? Lairs coming in. Helium Hub, Crypto Collective. We've got Arthur Muffin, Polly Shortcuts, Eddie Clay, Chuck Reardon, welcome. Celsify's coming in. Grandma, Nurple, Pamela G, Wolf's Lair. We got Jana Queen, Gypsy Muse. What's up? We have Doris, Andrew, Debbie, Eden, Roberto, Don, Big Russ, welcome. We got GE's in the house. Jennifer O'Connell, Patrick Solomon, Slammin, Zipped Up Kits, Steffi, whew. Brian C, what's up? Goodness and Mercy's coming in. Julie O, what's up? Roadside Garage. Central Ohio, RTW in the house. Emil's coming in. Slade, Andrea, Brandon Leach, Helium Hub. Yeah, what's up? Jeff Favre, Prince Vibes, Rebecca, Jeff Book. Gina's coming in. Sean Quinn, Brian Clark, Sonic Garage in the house. Buddy Chipman, Shinna Morgan, Lucas G in the house. Oh my gosh, it was going on and on and on. Facts Matter brought in 50 new members. Our members only stream tomorrow is going to be so lit. Man, it's just going to be wild. Not as wild as a freak off though, okay? It's not what we do here. Ugh. Or like that guy Crowder was talking to, okay? It's going to be 50 new members. But don't get too excited. We're not getting indicted here, all right? Stacy Milligan. Hey, thank you, Fax, for bringing in 50 members. That's amazing. And hey, Stacy Milligan says, did you see the John Kirby accidental email? Did you see the John Kirby accidental email? No, I don't know. But no, I don't think I did. It's not a freak-off email, is it? Was he at Diddy's party? Was John Kirby there? I bet he was, wasn't he? John, admit it. We know you were there, John. Was that what the email was? All right. No, I haven't seen it. What is it? Is it about Ukraine or something? Is it the one, somebody was saying something like, I did see a headline from the State Department about, no, I think that was from Jerome Powell. That's what I saw. There was like a pre-release statement, I think it was from the Fed, that said, insert a statement about we're not panicking. Like put a statement in there about we're not panicking. Then they deleted that sentence from the draft. It was pretty funny. Facts Matter, thank you for that. Thank you for 50 members, really cool. And everybody, thank you for the great comments, the great donos. Let's say hello to our friends on Locals. I saw some donos come in over there. And of course, we are going over there for our members only after party as soon as we wrap up here. Who's in the house over on Locals? What's up? Viva Maga is over there. Good to see you, Viva Maga. Says, here's from Babylon B. Says, Biden promises the next woman assassin will be a woman of color. Wow, that is really, really nice of him. He's a really progressive guy. And hopefully, it's a trans woman of color too. That way, it's very inclusive. What's up, Viva Mega? Knox says, happy Thursday, all. So crazy that Trump fans suffer injuries after the rally at the Ronstadt Center when Linda Ronstadt just called him a rapist and compared him to Hitler. I did not realize that. Are you kidding? So their name's on the building. Oh, so that's what it is. So she just has like one of those buttons, like in the movies where you just press the button and the thing opens and gasses everybody kind of a thing. So that's what she did. She was just up there in the box and just said, all right, that's it. Tried to take him out. Hey, what's going on? Eddie Block Films. You know Eddie Block. He's doing a bunch of great content on Locals and elsewhere. Says, Donnie and I went to have a birthday drink with my dad today. It's his birthday. He died in my arms when I was 6 years old from Agent Orange that he was exposed to in Vietnam. Man, Eddie, so sorry to hear that, brother. So rest in peace to your amazing father who made the ultimate sacrifice. He died at 41, only 3 years after he retired from the U.S. Air Force. So rest in peace to Mr. Eddie Block, Papa Eddie Block in the house. Happy birthday, sir. Cheers to you. Eddie, cheers to you. And cheers to Donnie and Papa Eddie. Cheers. Thank you, sir. Rest in peace. We'll see you again soon. What's up? Eddie shared this one. Here's the photo. Man, what a great photo. Look at this. A little Crown Royale in there. Here, let's see. Let me see here. I can figure this out. I'm all zoomed in and so discombobulated. There it is. Proud father and veteran, Dennis Block. Shout out to Dennis. Thank you, sir, for your service. U.S. Air Force, Vietnam, born 1942, passed June 30th, very recently. Cheers, good sir. Are those now and laters too? Are those now and laters? Oh man, those are delicious. So it looks like a great memory. Thanks for sharing that, Eddie. And rest in peace to your father. Cheers to you and to good boy Donnie. Hope you guys are doing well. Chubby says, anything Hobbs is in favor of is clearly something that's detrimental to Arizona Republicans. Yeah, obviously. We're going to work hard to solve our ballots, solve our elections. Right. Hey, NY says, Rob, I think you're referring to people in the nightclub in Hong Kong that were exposed to ultraviolet rays from lights, thought to be black lights, but were really germicidal lamps. Wow. The wavelength of that causes photokeratitis, basically a sunburn on the cornea. I'm wondering if someone had something installed to sterilize the air. There is a safe type of UV bulb, which is far UVC, which doesn't cause any problems. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the heck happened. I don't know if that one was in Hong Kong. I feel like it was here for some reason, but I don't really remember. Chubby says, the Secret Service had no idea of the incident. I bet one of their DEI hires accidentally sprayed some pepper spray while patrolling the area. It could be true. Radice says, I was lurking and I noticed that your shirt must be a large medium. It's a little too loose today. Please wash and over dry this shirt. Yeah, I'll have to do that. And I'll also have my my tailor take a couple inches out of the top here. Suction cup this puppy here. Let's pull that nice and tight. There we go. That's perfect. Yes, that's the medium we're looking for. So DeHook says Kentucky judge was shot and killed in his chambers. Oh gosh, that's a horrible story. Kentucky judge. That's terrible. That happens. That happens from time to time in the law. Lawyers get taken out. It's a terrible thing. So prayers for that judge. Peace to his family. And may the legal community recover from that, because it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing when people get taken out. It's like, well, what happened? Was it, who's next kind of a thing? It's very unsettling. Happens in I think of a lot of other industries, but it happens in the law more often than you'd think. Knox Bierman. What's up, Knox? Says, happy heavenly birthday, sir. Great happy birthday. Coming over from Knox to Eddie's father. Good to see you, Knox, and thank you for that. And so, my friends, what a bunch of nice comments and amazing donos. Let's say hello, what's up to our friends on X before we go over to Locals to hang out with our Locals friends for our members only after party, baby. Let's see who's on the X platform, Elon's platform. We got, what's up, B-Torn? Sharing some musical quotes, B-Torn. James Pepper says, Joe Biden has promised to complete the sex change operations of all Hezbollah members? What on earth? What the heck's going on over there? Hey, and Barb says, oh yeah, here, what's up, Barb? Barb says, someone pointed out photokeratitis, a problem of a broken, this is interesting, a broken metal halide light in large venues. I don't put anything past our opposition, but I also want to rule out all less nefarious options. What a great comment, Barb. Yeah, thank you for that. What a great comment. That's a great idea. Broken metal halide light, right? You just have some simple explanation like that. And Ruthless Sheep says it's alarming what Matt Gaetz came out with today. I have not seen it. These people who are plotting to kill Trump are guilty of treason at the highest levels. That is unacceptable. And I have not seen that. I've not seen what Gaetz came out with, but I shall look into it now since I've been alerted. But thank you for that. What's up, our ex-friends? Great to see our ex-friends. Thank you for sending those amazing comments in and joining us. Esther, what's up? Esther Shugart says, what say you about Bill Gates calling the First Amendment a notion? It's like an idea, like an abstraction. Is that what he said? I did not hear his comment, but if it came from Bill Gates's mouth, I probably am not going to be happy with it based on a pattern of his prior comments. But it's not a notion. It's a documented, explicit codification of a natural immutable right. And it's been like a discovery. The fact that we codified it and put it in there, it's translating a universal principle and liberty that exists in the universe. It's translating that into a written document and then transmuting that, right? Creating that is law and then restructuring the universe based around free speech, right? Thoughts are necessary in order for the action to occur that creates everything around us. So it's not just a simple notion like it's on a Post-it sticky note and you just throw it away. These people who diminish the Constitution and talk about it like it's a meaningless piece of paper, they're watering it down and they're undermining fundamental God-given natural rights and liberties. They want to take them away from all of us, which is why they continue to minimize them. I don't even know what he said, though, so maybe he didn't say anything that's related to that, but that's what I think about it. Thank you for that. What's up? Not a commie. Says, the eyesores could have been caused by a high UV stage light. Welder's flash hurts like that, too. Interesting. Yeah, maybe they were just getting their eyes beamed in by something. Maybe that's why it's on one side, not the other side. A light breaking, extra focus. It's weird. If it was only one person, I would say, it's just probably just a person who had a reaction to something. But if it's multiple people and they're all kind of experiencing the same thing, it's weird. Definitely weird. Ike's girl says, Rob, I'm ashamed you didn't know one of the best classic rock groups ever, ZZ Top. Now I have to think if you get some homemade apple butter. Well, I know I'm in big trouble now. I really don't know ZZ Top. I'll have to admit it. What era were they? Were they a little bit before my time? I feel like they were just a little bit before my time. So let's see, like ZZ Top. I feel like they're just a little bit older. When was their like heyday? Like what years were those? So for example, here you go. Early years. All right, so this is what we're seeing here. Let's share this. So ZZ Top, we've got the early years, 1972. First decade of success was 1982. So they're crushing from 1973 to 1982. I haven't even been born yet. Then Eliminator happens. I haven't been born. Then Afterburner and Recycler. So Afterburner's like, wow, it's a big album. So 1991, I'm now 6 years old. Then 2003 happens. And I'm about to graduate high school in 2004. So it was a greatest hits, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's just it was a little bit before my time. I think that's all it is. But it looks like it was fun. Looks like a good band. Anyways, I'm in trouble. I'm in the doghouse on that one. All right, well, we'll see if we get some apple butter or not. But thank you, Ike's girl. I know I'm kind of a cultural disappointment in many ways. We got some ZZ Top fans. Not an excuse. Not an excuse. All right. I guess I'm in the penalty box on that one. I don't know what else to say. There's a lot of that. I'm not real great with music in general. There's a bunch of that. In fact, Locals knows. They always reference stuff, and I'm like, who? What? The heck? Who is this person? I have no idea. But thank you, Ike's girl, for the nice dono and for the nice comment. My friends, we are going to leave it there. We're going to head on over to Locals, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Links down in the description below. If you're a new YouTube member, we'll see you back tomorrow morning for our members-only stream, Locals members too. We go live for members at 12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and we have a lot of fun. And our morning streams are a little lighter and a lot of fun. Someone's asking about Fannie, and I was listening to that hearing today, and I don't think it was very substantive at all, honestly. It was Ashley Merchant who was doing a great job with a very ornery, very difficult, squirrely custodian of records person who was a lawyer, and they were really getting into it. The judge was getting irritated. The prosecutors were incompetent. It was a mess. It was a mess. I was going to consider covering it, but I don't think we had anything that came out of it, to be honest with you. So we'll keep our eye on it tomorrow as well and go through if there's any substantive updates. But my friends, we're going to leave it there. We are heading over to Locals, watchingthewatchers.locals.com to hang out with some membos over there and do our members only after party. And so we'd love to see you come join us. We really tried to deliver for our membos. Tons of streams in the morning, Saturday shows, all the good stuff. So come join us. But we are going to leave it there. If we don't see you over on Locals, we'll miss you dearly. But we will be back here tomorrow to get into all of this again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.